was that the running game took a pretty big step forward on Saturday, and everyone seemed remarkably happy about it. What's it been like since? Has the video review borne that out, and is there an extra pep in everybody's step?
Yeah, I think that it's like anything else. You know, hopefully you get what you stress, and we did. We emphasized the run game for the last 2 weeks, coming off the ball and punching guys, and as far as the running backs go, finishing runs and being a little more physical and things like that. And yeah, it showed up, so it was good.
Tony, when Mike has a game like he did a lot of good things with the football in his hands and also let it slip out a couple times. What are the conversations like between the two of you when you try and emphasize that ball security moving forward?
Well, I mean, it's not like he doesn't know.
Yeah.
So it's not new, and it's not reinventing the wheel. It's again, we've got a job to do, and first and foremost is to take care of the ball, and I mean then everything else after that can come. But so yeah, we've discussed it. We've dealt with it. We'll continue to deal with it and continue to stress it. And you know, if the ball's on the ground that many times, I guess I got to look at myself too and say, what am I not doing? Because obviously the message wasn't delivered enough, and so that's something we will diligently continue to work on.
Is there a line? Because it's like you guys had been emphasizing to go make something happen, like push it to the limit to try and break tackles and get extra yardage. I mean, sometimes that happens if you're trying to push it, or
no,
not acceptable.
No, I mean, you know, as a college member, my dad told me that once. He said, "Well, you know, it happens," and I remember I looked and I said, "Why? Why do you have to lose? Well, you have to lose in order to build character? No, I think you can build character by winning. Do you have to fumble? No. Can you still run a guy over and break tackles and do that without fumbling? Absolutely, and that's what you're supposed to do. So that's what we're going to continue to work to do."
Yeah. What is the sense that y'all have hit on something with the running game? Obviously, last year against Michigan State, they came in, I think, where they were really highly ranked in the country, run defense, and y'all ran right through them, for want of another term. Mike had a career day.
Right.
What is the sense y'all have hit on something now? Tony, that carry through?
Well, I hope it's just, you know, now it's about being consistent and looking into, you know, what got you to this point, and then how do we improve on that and enhance it, and continue to work towards that, and seeing that, you know, the fruits of your labor come to fruition, and continue to work towards that.
But it seemed like people had their pep in their step coming out of that game Saturday. Was the fact y'all just lined up and kind of ran the ball. I mean, there was no. We understood there were no RPOs called.
Well, that's not
probably, I didn't
true.
figure what.
Yeah, that's not completely true.
That was the official. That was the exit poll.
Right.
But there was a sense that y'all lined up for the most part and got physical.
Yeah, we did. But again, we stressed that in, you know, inside periods and 9-on-7 and team periods, and we did. We stressed those things, and it was like, look, this is what we're going to go do, and if we didn't like it, we did it. We're going to do it again and again and again. And this is exactly how it's going to look. And if it doesn't, we're going to do it again until we get it the way we want it. And those guys responded. Our players really responded to that. And so it's got to keep going.
Hey, Tony, what do you like about that jumbo package that we saw? You get Wyatt Davis in there and a couple tight ends.
Big bodies. Big bodies that can move people, hopefully. But everyone's got a job to do. And just at the end of the day, just go do your job.
What are those conversations like? Urban talked about, you know, the long hours during the off date and trying to come up with schemes. I mean, that seems to be a product of that. Was that?
But again, yeah, it is a product of that. But again, it goes back to go do your job. Players line up. At the end of the day, football is me against you. At some juncture, it's me against that guy. Go do your job. That's it. Go do your job. JK, Mike, whomever it is, don't let that guy tackle you. That's it. Let's not make this harder than what it is. And again, we can talk about schemes and footwork and hand placement and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, I have to beat you. That's what it comes down to.
You were a running back of repute, and then you've been a coach for a long time. What does it do for a football team to refine its running game?
Well, I think it's a physical sport, right? And I think I'm one who believes you have to run the ball. That's a physical deal, and I think when you just start taking it and pounding the rock, eventually you can break a person's will doing that now. And but again, that's a mentality.
Hey, Tony, I know that the offensive linemen aren't necessarily really fond of RPOs because they don't know what the backfield action is. Is there something about an RPO that makes the life of a running back more difficult? Is their job all that different on an RPO play as opposed to a traditional?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's the quarterback pulls it and throws it, pulls it and throws it. If he hands it to you, keep running, go do your job.
What does putting those guys in the pistol do for him? Does that help out?
Lets them run downhill a little more and gain a little more velocity. Versus 4 yards away from the line of scrimmage, 4.5, 5 yards away from the line of scrimmage, going sideways and then having to put your foot in the ground at a 90-degree turn versus I'm going to put you 7.5 yards deep and it's just you're so smoking it downhill. So it allows the guy to have a little more velocity that way.
With the RPOs, you guys went from being pretty RPO heavy to the last game, and Urban talked about this, to not really using many RPOs. That was a pretty big sea change for you guys. Can you just kind of discuss that a little bit?
I think a lot of it's schematics, who you're playing and what the scheme is and matchups and things like that. They said, here's what we're going to go do. And again, we do. Ohio State's known for being a physical program. And not from one year to the next, but through the course of time. And so we're never on getting back to that.
Do you feel like this new scheme, though, is what's going to work with the just straight downhill running instead of more RPOs? Do you feel like that's going to work for you guys better down the stretch here? Because, I mean, you could argue that if you guys didn't put the ball on the ground a couple more times, it would have been like 300-plus yards, So, and I know you guys are looking forward to testing that against a really good run defense this week, but do you feel like the traditional just throwing and just traditional, running is what's going to work for you guys?
We'll see. Like I said, it's a week-by-week deal, and it's kind of schematically what matchups and what we feel we need to do in order. Just Michigan State and Maryland and Team of North, they've got really good schemes and coaches and players too. So what do we need to do? What do we feel we need to do to take advantage of what they do? But at the end of the day, it comes back to, again, be physical, do your job, make plays.
The RPOs are a little bit go ahead.
Why don't you just bring the quarterback out when you're talking, man?
How often have you been a part of a team that's made as big of a change as going from being RPO heavy to being very light on RPOs? Just how big of a swing is that? And doesn't that speak to your team's versatility?
It does. Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, I think it does. But we've got athletes all across the board, and our job as coaches to put them in the best position to make plays and to use their skill sets to the fullest. Then their job is to go use those skill sets to the fullest, right?
But on the context of it, is that as big of a change as it sounds, or have you done something like that frequently?
I've been a part of offenses that where we've had one from week to week, we've kind of moved it around a little bit like that. I've done that before, so to say that it's some seismic change, I don't know if I would subscribe to that.
The RPOs, they kind of give you something that can be useful against a defense like Michigan State, though, right?
Yeah, well, all defenses. I mean, listen, an RPO, when JT was here, he would pull it and run it. Mm-hmm. Okay, with RPO now, we pull it and throw it. So you take it for what it is, and that's part of the run game. Mm-hmm. So let's not say it's just throw it, but that's part of the run game. And so we'll see. We'll keep punching it and punching the ticket and see how we do.
When you guys were game planning for this year with having Mike healthy and JK back and everything, when you're thinking about how you're going to use the two of them, mostly you guys have used them as one guy gets one drive, the next guy gets the next. What was the decision behind that? Urban's said a couple times that he doesn't micromanage you on that.
He does not at all.
How do you determine series as opposed to situations and whatnot?
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things we talked about during training camp when people asked me that was the whole objective is to make them complete players. Okay. And we've worked diligently to do that, and I think they both are. And, you could argue that there's certain situations I should probably put this guy in versus that guy. I got to, said anybody can argue. Sure. There's all kinds of things that I could be doing better. But, so I don't really have a set, the 3rd and 1, I'm going to do this, or 3rd and long, I'm going to do this. I don't. I've kind of let it run by series because I think they both deserve to play.
Sure.
I know this last game, what would have been a series, they said, well, Mike should have gone in the end. you know, I made a decision that I was going to put J.K. in. It was hot,
right,
if you will, if that's the word to use. And you know, we knew that we had to get a couple first downs to run the clock, and he had done a good job as far as securing the ball throughout. And I said, so here's what we're going to do.
Right.
And you know, and Urban, and he doesn't. Urban, thankfully, he has allowed me to coach my room and does not micromanage me at all, which I greatly appreciate. And it worked out.
When you guys were looking over the bye week at the running game, were you happy with how it's worked, drive to drive, or did you even talk about potentially changing that up at all?
No, we didn't even talk. No.
Okay. So you think it's worked well?
It's worked
the way.
It's worked.
Tony, when you guys were talking about that stuff during the bye week, how did you land on the featuring the pistol a little more? Were you lobbying for that to get those guys down?
No, it was just, again, we sit in those rooms and we talk about here's the why and why nots, and here's kind of what we want to feature, and it's a collaborative effort, and you know, and here's how we're going to kind of move the pieces around a little bit, and this is the best way to do it, and this is what we came up with as a whole.
It just because it seems like a natural pairing to have that more downhill style when you have a drop back passer, I guess more pro style kind of thing. I think people are just wondering, like, why. I know you've done pistol throughout the year, but you did more of it, it seemed. Why it took, you know, that many weeks to land on
I don't
doing it more.
I don't know. I mean, that's. I can't answer that question. I mean, there's a lot of people that have drop back quarterbacks, if you will, and don't get the pistol. You know, so I don't know if I can say that that's the surefire way to do it or not. I mean, there's all kinds of people that don't do it that way, and they're perfectly fine. So it's just something that we've kind of moved towards a little bit more in the past weeks, if you will, and it's worked out.
Great, Coach. Thank you very much.
Okay, we good?
Thank you, Tony.
All right, guys.